The dark is busy. A light would not reveal anything. When the man who watches France, France. I watched the news last night. I wonder whether I have anything to say here. At a performance poetry night in Greenwich last month, someone in the audience shouts out, "Tell it like it is, girl," during the set of Jess Green. Is that what I want to happen and want to do? It's so strange when Tony Blair comes on TV. Why don't we name some streets after prime ministers like they do in Germany, or those Willy Brandt Strasses? If there's some topical detail in what I'm about to say, here it comes from BBC News or the internet. I write this to try and find a response in language to what I didn't, to what I haven't much about, a lot of not. Apart from going on one march against the invasion of Iraq in London 2003, we all know what happened after that. I imagined myself stood up here saying, I like the absurd. Desdemona Tutt thinks you're a war criminal, eaten up that no one's named a street after you, Troy, not a single sodding street. Have to climb on a chair, on a table, on a chair, on a table. Can I see it? Probably not. Ask the lion, would you be my St. Jerome? Said the lion, no, your wordless syllables. This oracle, this is World War II, obviously, went into the war weak, found an old-fashioned pub, meat and eggs for sale behind the counter if you knew how to ask for it. In the present, that was not his art, so he had a pint and asked if anyone had seen the button. Oracle had lost off his coat, equals 10 Cumberland sausages. Yanis Ritsos, writing every day in a concentration camp in Greece. Anna Akhmatova in Leningrad 1939 wrote a poem on a slip of paper, showed it to a friend, burnt it in the stove. In the 1950s in America, Gary Snyder said you would travel 5,000 miles to visit a friend. Three-dimensional. Space. I know nothing, other than that I invented it once in England raw. Yes, I forgot to mention. I walked out of the gate and through the night. The Waitrose on the edge of town is boarded up. This is the no time and no place of the fairy tale. Let's meet here. Let's meet myself here. I watch myself pushing a heavy old policeman's bicycle along country lanes. The hands I'm typing this with, calloused and sore, hold them up to the moon, healing indifference, darkness made of memories and remorse, pressure to articulate. From the top of that hill I will see light and return to the gate in the manner of a universe that loops, the surprise of being in another world. Your death marks not each poem but each book, the unit of my mourning, you. Perfect for the dog died, people and their pets. In Our Not Telling, tell of it as a bedtime story. It's affected you personally, Tony, had a huge cost on your life. You can't walk down the street, you who once had a landslide general election victory. Even the toppling of the Saddam statue turned into Dubai overnight. If the human form is no longer self-evident, then what is? What does that mean? Find the human form in the darkness. John Berger also writes about the scale of things being non-realistic in Rembrandt's portraits. This comes from inhabiting the interiority, depicting from the outside how it feels from the inside. I could start to speak of that march in 2003, and it would unfurl in a long rolling line like Ginsberg's Howl, the details of that day and everything that happened in the 10 years since, here and there to me and you, telling of what I did and knew, which left a lot still to say, but worry not, the long unspooling line, its own momentum brings us to what did and does, the had not, would not, although perhaps Kaddish is a better example. Yves Klein's idea during the France-Algeria conflict that it could be solved by painting the whole map blue. At the poetry night in Greenwich, Jason Pilley told me he'd used the second part of Howl as a structure for one of his own poems. So Moloch, Moloch, and a line. Moloch, Moloch, and another line. Euripides, after I'd made a speech about being fucked over by the gods for their sport, had the chorus say, end with an oath, nice touch, we like it. Like Tony Blair gave up trying to convince other people he was right. Parodied and falsified, I lay sprawled on the floor, tears at the emperor's mortality. Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now saying, you must make a friend of horror, interrupted me in the middle of the 17 books of anticipation, I in which the abysmal things pretend an hour offer a pedicure to a lion. Match, story, object. Match, story, object. The morning of the Iraq March, all those Willy Brandt Strasses on the platform at Exodus and David Station, 6 a.m, obvious where we are all going, one enormous Quaker, violations of international law, a bit like supporting a football team. I don't remember much of the march, only Vanessa Redgrave stood on the corner of Shaftesbury Avenue, which might be my memory, might be what happened afterwards, all of us unlikely protesters, our once only march, it was useless. If she was here now, ask Vanessa Redgrave her thoughts about that. And meet the lion who says the dreadful has already happened, and the sea has gone. I say to the lion, gone. Says the lion, lost and lost, love and love. I'll drag something out of that experience, make some fairy tale out of how a swan trying to take off belly flops back into the canal. This won't be a litany, a Kaddish. This won't even be the desire to write such a poem if I was the right age and all the constellations of self and the world were aligned just right. Unless one could write such a poem about being on the platform of Exeter Station, March 2003. That's where memory stays this poem, exploring that station, 6 a.m. It persists with a large T, a kind of eternity. Yet he was looking for a way out of the darkness. And I, who have made these places, return to them. The table outside. Stand in the doorframe looking at the stars. Stars, stairs, stories, proclaim aesthete, exaltation. Without apologies then, without being, let me glory, human figure found in the panic, almost not remembering these spaces where, go back inside. France walks its dog, and on the beaches of Calais, Calais, things in orbit, orbit, Calais is in France.